Hello all, I'm Kel Kidman. Welcome to Breaking on the Daily, where today we have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris declared Time Person of the Year. William Barr has reportedly hid 2 federal probes into Hunter Biden for months, and a judge disqualifies the attorney prosecuting one of the McColskey cases because it has the appearance of political malfeasance. All that and a bit more on today's episode of Breaking on the Daily. Now, we're going to begin with Time declaring Joe Biden and Kamala Harris Time's Person of the Year. You know, as if you needed any more evidence, and there really isn't any authoritative sources on language. Person of the Year? They're 2 people. It's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which doesn't even make sense considering that Kamala Harris did literally nothing to deserve that. Like, even if you are to assume that Joe Biden deserves it for his ostensible win in the presidential election, which I wouldn't even say is the case, even if we do assume he actually did win, because, well, let's just take Trump, for example. He's done much more this year with one of the fastest vaccine developments of all in all of history. And other such things, historic peace deals, and normalization of many Arab countries' relations with Israel, all that sort of stuff are things that Trump has done this year, but he doesn't get any of this stuff. Because, of course, Time is a huge corporate entity and is really only interested in the establishment. They're not really interested in showing you who the actual important people of the year are. Yeah, it's just such a silly thing. Really, Kamala Harris being on there is just one of the dumbest things I could possibly imagine. like, Kamala Harris? Really? No one even likes Kamala Harris. I mean, I think at least there's maybe 5 people who like her, but there really isn't a whole lot. With all of her cackling like the friggin' the evil witch of the West, whatever. She's just not a very likable person, and she didn't do anything important, as already stated. Like, she just is the vice presidential candidate and was an awful person all year, but okay. It's such a silly thing. And anyway, on to our next story. Eric Swalwell has resorted to personal attacks on Republicans amid his China spy story firestorm. Now, this comes around the same time that you have Ted Cruz having one of the greatest tweets of all time, and I'm not, like, the biggest Ted Cruz fan. I don't hate the guy either. I mean, I kind of have a middling opinion about him. But, man, was this tweet amazing. He said, I've told people many times to screw the communists. Apparently, Eric Swalwell was listening a bit too closely. That was a good tweet. And Eric Swalwell is trying to do clapbacks and not really succeeding. I mean, it just comes off as him, being generally obstinate. And it's really funny because just a few days ago, the official statement from his office came out about this whole scandal thing. And they didn't deny that he had screwed the Chinese spy. They didn't deny it. Like, their statement was something like, we're not going to cooperate with your investigation because that information may be classified. It's not a denial. And I don't know how you don't just deny that. Like, it's just so dumb. But this has been a very funny story. Very, very funny story over the past few days. And I really have appreciated it. And I'm sad I didn't get to talk about it just a few days ago because I was thinking a whole lot about the election stuff. Which, by the way, on that note, with the election stuff, the Pennsylvania responded yesterday with a filing. And I read through about half of it, the stuff that I found interesting and thought might change my opinion. And no, my video is still as relevant today as it was yesterday. It's still completely correct. And if anything, the arguments have gotten stronger, actually, because he did the Pennsylvania AG did pretty much what I expected him to do, which is really nice for my argument. So that ended up working out well for me. Went on to more China news, sort of. Investigations into Chinese spies and financial compromises and such like that. William Barr has reportedly hid 2 federal probes into Hunter Biden for months. Now, apparently, Hunter Biden has been probe for investigation for like more than a year at this point, and William Barr was hiding this from the American public throughout all of this, even through the Hunter Biden story coming out back in October. And, you know, people are like, oh, Barr, he's just hiding all this stuff, and it's obvious he's corrupt and all that. But I don't have the same opinion, because it kind of leads on from what I was thinking about during this whole Hunter Biden thing that was going on back in October. If you go back to my videos from back then, you'll remember me making a comment about how this story completely justified what Trump was doing in Ukraine, and how he likely knew about an investigation that was going on into Hunter Biden at the time. Now we know there was an investigation going on into Hunter Biden and his taxes and all that sort of stuff. A criminal investigation going on into him and his financial dealings and all that sort of stuff at the time. We know that was happening. Now, am I supposed to believe that Trump didn't know about this? Am I supposed to believe, especially after we see a call of him almost explicitly referencing the fact that he was investigating into it while he was talking to the leader of Ukraine? Am I supposed to believe that he didn't know about this? I mean, it makes me more sympathetic to Barr's position, because Trump didn't say anything about it. I mean, Trump didn't say, oh yeah, there's an investigation going on. He didn't say that back in January with impeachment. He didn't say it back in October, and I don't know why. I don't know why that is the case. Maybe it's similar to the Russia investigation, which didn't really become a huge thing until after the fact. Maybe he's trying to set it up for, assuming Biden gets in. Maybe he's setting it up for a potential special counsel and trying to essentially get back at him, which would be a reasonable thing, especially considering there's a lot more evidence that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden did a lot more wrong here than with the Russia investigation. I mean, we have direct financial ties that have to do almost explicitly with political maneuvering. You know, we have confessions from Hunter Biden that he would not have been on any of these boards doing any of these deals if not for if not for his last name being Biden. I mean, we have explicit reference to that. So that will be interesting. But I'm not taking the same tact as many other people are with Will Barr. I'm just, I'm not. I don't think that this is necessarily evidence of him being a cat's paw or whatever. Just because Trump probably knew about this investigation too, and if he wanted to release it, if he wanted to release the information on it, he would have. And now he's releasing it now. And so, I don't know. I don't really know with the story. I need more information. And I do think there's good evidence to suggest that this wasn't something that was going on in the background of the DOJ, that Trump had knew nothing about. No, this was something that was going on, and Trump knew about it. And he was talking about it with diplomatic leaders who were, relevant to it. The Ukraine, it's a perfect example. Like I said, back when this whole Hunter Biden story was coming out, this completely justifies everything Trump did in the Ukraine scandal. Literally everything he did. You know what? It was a perfect phone call. There was no problems with it. I'm going to say it. It was obviously a perfect phone call at this point. I don't know how you could justify saying anything else, because what did he do wrong? He was talking with Ukraine about a counterintelligence, a financial investigation that was going on in the U.S. and ostensibly, or may have been going on for months at that point. What's the problem? And he wants to get the Ukraine leaders to agree to it and start helping them. That's completely reasonable. That's normal foreign policy. It's completely normal. It just and I think that's getting lost in all of the sort of talk about this story. That Trump has been completely vindicated with Ukraine. Completely vindicated. There's no argument anymore that, there may be impropriety going on there or whatever. No, there's no argument anymore. He's completely vindicated. Which I think is the most relevant thing. But on to our next story. America has ostensibly seen its deadliest week for COVID as COVID fatalities rise by 15,000 cases in the past 7 days as the country sees a record 1.4 million cases with 106,000 people hospitalized. But the worst is to come. See, that's interesting. Where do the flu deaths lie? Oh, 0? I don't believe you. Now, am I saying that there are no COVID deaths? Am I saying it's a hoax? No. Am I saying that it's suspicious that there have been no flu deaths this year? And that there still has been no flu deaths this year while COVID deaths are rising? Yes. Am I saying that if you don't see something suspicious about that, that you lack the basic reading comprehension and pattern recognition skills that any human should have? Yes. Well, that's that for that story. On to our last headline story. We have a judge has disqualified the attorney prosecuting the specifically Mark McColskey, not both of them. It's weird because the two McCloskeys are actually being prosecuted by different people, but the attorney for Mark McColskey has been disqualified because he seems to have done it for political reasons. Specifically, he apparently was fundraising off of this and was saying, yeah, I'm going to go get them, so re-elect me and help me fundraise for my re-election efforts. And so the judge was like, you know what, I normally wouldn't get involved in this, but this looks sus. And so he's like, yeah, we're going to disqualify you because it's pretty clear you're prosecuting for completely political reasons that have, I really need to get, for completely self-interested reasons, not political reasons, because of course, all prosecutions are political, as they have to do with public prosecution. I'm going to keep harping on, by the way, on that definition of politics, because the current definition that most people use for politics is completely nonsensical. It really, really is. It doesn't make any sense. Because essentially it comes down to, oh, if there's an argument around it, it's political. If there isn't an argument around it, it's just public policy. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And what's the threshold on that? Is it anyone? Is it mainstream? It's so dumb. But I'm getting off into the weeds here. Back to the actual story. The prosecution has been disqualified, and this is good. I mean, this is a good story. It's good to see that the McCloskeys are that the judge in this particular McColskey case is at least somewhat sane. Is at least looking at the prosecution and saying, yeah, you're kind of doing this for completely self-interested reasons and doing pretty much for your own re-election campaign, so we're just not going to let you do this anymore. So that's good. Hopefully we'll get a better prosecution in, and they'll not do this sort of over-prosecuting thing that have been happening with the McCloskeys, which, by the way, the McCloskeys did nothing wrong, except for trigger finger. But even then, the gun was apparently disabled at the time, so it's not that bad. It's still bad, to be clear. I hate bad trigger fingers. I really do. And the guy wasn't holding the rifle, like, super well, but, nitpicks. They didn't do anything illegal. They were defending their own property from people who had already broken into private property. So, I don't see the problem. But, and I'll keep up on this McColskey story. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I hope that they get completely vindicated, though I don't completely trust the court system. But we'll see what happens. And I'm going to keep you informed. I'm Cal Kidman, and this is where I'm going to leave you today. This has been Breaking on the Daily, and I'm out.